Welcome to this intense exploration where today we're focusing on one of the most distinctive, powerful, and truly influential voices in modern American entertainment,
Bernard Jeffrey McCullough.
known to absolutely everyone as the one and only Bernie Mac.
Yeah, a name he really commanded.
And our focus today is to really trace his extraordinary path. I mean, this is a life story that begins with some profound struggle on the south side of Chicago.
Right.
And it culminates in him becoming, a foundational figure in stand-up comedy, a critically acclaimed television star, and a really versatile, respected film actor.
It's a trajectory that's just defined by relentless drive
Yeah.
and resilience.
When you think about his career, there are these landmark achievements that just stand out, and we're going to get into them. Of course, his role as Frank Catton in the Ocean's film trilogy.
Essential, absolutely essential to that cast.
And his turn as Stan Ross in Mr. 3000, but maybe most importantly for his legacy, The Bernie Mac Show.
Oh, without a doubt. Groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Multi-award winning.
But before we jump into the details of his rise, it's critical that we acknowledge the abrupt ending to this remarkable life.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie Mac died suddenly on August 9, 2008, in Chicago. He's only 50 years old.
Just 50.
His passing was attributed to complications from pneumonia. It was a profound loss, and we're going to treat the details of his final years with the factual clarity and sympathy they deserve.
Absolutely.
So our mission today is to give you a comprehensive understanding of the man behind that demanding stage presence. We'll start at the very beginning, the difficult early life, the grueling professional grind he endured for decades.
Right.
Then we'll move through his explosive career breakthroughs in stand-up, examine his period of really unmatched critical success on television, and finally reflect on the enduring nature of his influence.
What stands out immediately when you look at the material on Bernie Mac is how his life just embodies the concept of the grind.
It really does.
The chronological narrative we have, it highlights the story of immense contradiction. I mean, we're talking about a person who spent his 20s and early 30s holding down all these physically demanding blue-collar jobs.
It's like what?
Janitor, cook, delivery driver, you name it. Yet he transitioned from that to end his life as this globally celebrated actor, garlanded with some of the most prestigious honors in broadcasting, the Peabody Award, for instance.
It's incredible. His journey is really proof that genuine success isn't always about some sudden viral moment.
No, not at all. It's about years of sustained, difficult commitment. His stand-up act, which felt so explosive and fully formed when it hit the national stage, was built on over a decade of weekend performances.
While working those other jobs.
Exactly. Balancing the exhaustion of intense manual labor with the creative demands of crafting and delivering comedy. It's an exploration that's particularly valuable for anyone interested in how raw life experience really fuels art. You'll see how his dedication and that powerful, unique voice he developed ultimately cut through all the industry noise to achieve this widespread acclaim across film, television, and live stand-up. We're charting the course from, the factory floor to the Hollywood soundstage.
So let's begin where the story began. Chicago. Bernard Jeffrey McCullough was born on October 5th, 1957, in Chicago, Illinois. He was the second child of Mary McCullough and Jeffrey Harrison, and his roots were firmly planted in the south side of the city, a place he would never truly leave. Not really.
No, even with all the fame, he was always Chicago.
And the narrative really emphasizes the challenging nature of his upbringing. He was primarily raised by his single mother and his grandparents on the south side.
That family structure was crucial, but it was also tested severely and very early in his life.
Yeah, that's where this thread of profound tragedy enters his youth. He started high school at Chicago Vocational High School. But his whole life was shattered by this really severe, concentrated period of loss.
It started during his sophomore year, right? Around 1973.
Exactly. That's when his mother died. And the emotional impact of losing your mother at that age, it must have been immense. It just immediately disrupted his entire life.
And the material shows that this wasn't an isolated tragedy. That's what's so heartbreaking.
No.
After his mother died, he temporarily moved away from Chicago. He went to Tampa, Florida, and attended Jesuit high school there.
Yeah.
But the family losses weren't over.
Not even close.
The source notes that shortly after that move, compounding the emotional devastation, his older brother died.
Right.
And his estranged father died as well.
So to experience 3 foundational losses like that in such a short period of time in your mid to late teens, it's just staggering.
You have to consider the psychological impact of surviving that kind of intense, concentrated trauma. Losing his primary support system so early probably instilled a deep sense of responsibility in him.
And maybe that fiercely controlled, uncompromising nature that we saw later in his stage persona?
Absolutely. But despite this series of heartbreaking events, he showed this incredible fortitude. He returned to Chicago to finish his education and graduated from Chicago Vocational in 1975.
Okay, so graduating in 75 puts him squarely in the working world in his late teens. And what's vital to grasp is the period that followed.
The long grind.
Exactly. The career we recognize today wouldn't truly launch until the late 1980s, maybe early 1990s. That's a span of over a decade and a half where he was committed to his art, but he couldn't live off it.
Not at all. This time, his entire 20s and his early 30s, this is the crucible where his endurance was forged. While he was trying to find his voice in comedy, performing only on the weekends at local clubs and parties, he was working an extraordinary, exhausting array of demanding physical jobs just to survive, just to support himself and his family.
And this isn't just a brief stint waiting tables.
No, this is a detailed list of occupations that speaks to the sheer challenge of his life. He worked as a janitor,
a coach,
a professional mover, a cook, a bus driver, a Wonder Bread delivery man,
a furniture mover, a UPS agent. I mean, think about the cumulative physical toll of that. Moving furniture all day, only to have to summon the energy and the mental sharpness to deliver comedy on a stage late on a Friday night.
It's extraordinary discipline. It had to be punishing. The transition from hauling boxes to commanding a stage with wit and timing.
So how did this long period of blue-collar labor fundamentally shape the content of his comedy?
I think it's crucial because it gave him an inexhaustible, authentic source of material.
Right.
When you look at his stand-up, it's observational, but it's observational comedy rooted in experience. He wasn't relying on abstract concepts. He was talking about the absurdities of dealing with difficult customers, the hierarchy of management, the frustration of manual labor.
The universal experience of working people just trying to make ends meet.
Exactly. That background gave him an instant, visceral connection with the average person. He understood the daily grind because he was living it. He was wearing the different uniforms.
That commitment, working 8 different types of jobs for years while refusing to give up on the stage, that explains the strength and the confidence that would later define him.
It's where the humor came from, the concrete realities of life. And that authenticity is why he resonated so powerfully when he finally got the spotlight.
And that unrelenting effort eventually funneled him right into the stand-up arena. This is where the Bernie Mac we know today really, truly emerged. Before he developed his own fiercely independent style, we can clearly trace his influences. He cited the Three Stooges, which suggests an appreciation for physical comedy and absurdity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But he also listened deeply to the foundational giants of stand-up, Richard Pryor and Red Fox.
And Kings.
His career started pretty modestly, right in his hometown at the famous Cotton Club in Chicago. For years, it was this slow, steady, local build of a fan base, performing whenever he could on weekends while working all those jobs we just detailed.
But the transition from local hero to national contender needed a catalyst. And that first major sign that his years of hard work were paying off came when he won the Miller Lite Comedy Search.
Right.
Given that he was born in '57 and was 32 at the time, this big career shift happened right around 1989 or 1990.
Winning that competition gave him the validation, the initial momentum he needed for wider exposure.
And that exposure hit the national stage like a shockwave just a couple of years later.
1992.
This is arguably the most pivotal and referenced moment in his entire stand-up history. His appearance on the 3rd episode of HBO's seminal program, Def Comedy Jam.
This single appearance didn't just showcase him, it defined him.
And you need the context here, because the context is everything. Def Comedy Jam was the height of contemporary black comedy, but it was also a notoriously rowdy, often hostile environment.
Oh, famously so.
The source material highlights the specific legendary setting. The audience was unruly, and the host that night, Martin Lawrence, was struggling to regain control of the room.
He couldn't quiet them down.
He couldn't. And Mac walks onto that stage, into chaos, and immediately changes the entire power dynamic. He didn't try to win them over with a soft opening or a gentle joke.
No.
He asserted control instantly. He stared down the audience and delivered the now iconic line.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
Followed by his demanding insistence that he didn't come here for no foolishness.
That is just defiance personified. It wasn't just a reaction to that specific crowd. It felt like a culmination of all those years of working, demanding jobs, dealing with authority, and refusing to tolerate disrespect.
Yes.
It was the distillation of his entire persona declaring, I earned this spot and you will listen.
Exactly. Culturally, that moment was huge. In the early 90s, when so many comedians felt they had to pander or adjust, Mac stood up and demanded respect. He presented himself as an authority figure, a stern but funny patriarch who wasn't there for playtime.
That refusal to accept foolishness became the core of the Bernie Mac brand.
It set him apart as this truly powerful presence who commanded the room through sheer will. And that performance was a massive accelerator. His visibility just exploded.
Which led directly to the formation of the comedic supergroup known as the Big Four.
Mac joined forces with Steve Harvey, Cedric the Entertainer, and D.L. Hewley, first on tour and then in the 2000 documentary film, The Original Kings of Comedy.
And that film just cemented his standing. He wasn't just a successful comedian anymore. He was one of the essential voices defining comedy for a generation.
And you can track how quickly that stand-up success translated into broader media visibility. Even before the documentary, he briefly hosted his own HBO show, Midnight Mac.
And he started transitioning into film roles, small parts at first, but they were there, Mo Money in 1992, right after that Def Comedy Jam moment.
And then Above the Rim in 1994. The shift from working a UPS route to becoming a national comedian and working actor happened incredibly fast after that single defining performance.
So, while the Original Kings of Comedy tour brought him enormous fame and solidified his status among his peers, the peak of his mainstream critical and commercial success, that undoubtedly came with his own series.
Right, and this was the ultimate challenge. Could you translate that unique, demanding, fourth wall-breaking persona into a sustained weekly sitcom?
And he succeeded wildly. The Fox network launched The Bernie Mac Show in 2001. The premise was brilliant because it allowed him to maintain that powerful stage presence while navigating the most vulnerable situation you can imagine, sudden parenthood.
Yeah, the show featured a fictionalized version of himself who unexpectedly becomes the guardian of his sister's 3 kids after she enters rehab.
And that setup created this immediate, rich comedic tension.
The whole show was about the conflict between Mac's rough around the edges, I ain't scared of you stand-up persona and the immediate, delicate realities of modern, hands-on parenting.
But the genius wasn't just the premise, it was the narrative device.
Talking to America.
Constantly breaking the fourth wall, talking directly to the audience. This allowed him to share his internal monologue, his exasperations, his theories on discipline, but also his genuine affection for the children.
It blended his classic stand-up style seamlessly into the sitcom structure. You felt like you're getting this running, uncensored commentary directly from the stage show, just in a suburban home.
And the production leaned into his authentic history, which contributed so much to the show's resonance, especially in his hometown.
Right. He grew up on the South Side, was a hugely dedicated fan of the Chicago White Sox, and this personal passion was regularly referenced, adding this layer of authenticity that you don't get in standard sitcoms.
And there's a fantastic, specific example of this loyalty. It wasn't just wearing a hat in a scene. He integrated his fandom into the show's reality. He got the then White Sox pitcher, John Garland, to make a guest cameo.
I remember that.
And even more personally, after the White Sox's 2005 World Series championship, Mac dedicated part of an episode to the victory, wearing the gear and congratulating the team directly. That kind of integration makes the character feel incredibly grounded and real.
And the critical reaction to the Bernie Mac show was just exceptional. This is where we see the transition from popular entertainer to a recognized cultural figure.
It ran from 2001 through 2006.
And its success wasn't just measured by ratings. It was recognized by major industry awards that are usually reserved for serious drama or groundbreaking documentary work.
Let's talk about the significance of these non-acting honors, because they really do elevate the show beyond a typical sitcom.
For sure. The show won an Emmy for outstanding writing. This proves it wasn't just Mac's performance. The narrative and the structure were top tier.
But more tellingly, it secured the prestigious Peabody Award for Excellence in Broadcasting.
The Peabody, which is known for recognizing work with social context and integrity. For a sitcom to win that, it signifies the show was tackling substantive issues with real sophistication.
And it didn't stop there. The show also got the Humanitas Prize,
which is an award specifically for television writing that promotes human dignity and meaning.
Winning both a Peabody and a Humanitas Prize means that the show's handling of family, foster care, cultural clashes, it all resonated as socially significant content, not just effective comedy. It places the show in a really elite tier of television production.
And Mac's personal recognition during this run was, of course, immense. He received 2 Emmy nominations himself for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Comedy Series.
And his character, Bernie Mac McCullough, achieved historical recognition. He landed at number 47 in TV Guide's list of the 50 greatest TV dads of all time.
That really cements the legacy of the character as this archetypal, if unconventional, figure of American TV parenthood.
His dominance at the NAACP Image Awards was also just undeniable. He won Outstanding Actor in a Comedy Series 5 years in a row.
02, 03, 04, 05, and 06.
Every year. Plus, he consistently won with other critics, taking home the Satellite Award and the highly respected TCA Award for Individual Achievement in Comedy. It's clear that this 5-year period established him as one of the most decorated and celebrated comedic actors of his generation.
And what's truly astonishing about Mac's career between 2001 and 2006 is that while he was managing this intensely demanding schedule of a sitcom star,
winning all those awards, leading a hit Fox show,
he was simultaneously building a formidable, successful, high-profile career in Hollywood film. He somehow managed to juggle both mediums at a time when most actors struggle to dominate even one.
His cinematic output during this time was just continuous and high profile. He starts by joining one of the biggest ensemble casts of the 2000s, playing Frank Catton in the Ocean's trilogy.
Right. Ocean's 11 in 2001, Ocean's 12 in 2004, and then Ocean's 13 in 2007. His role was crucial, adding that distinct, quick-witted, slightly rough-edged energy to those slick, star-studded heist pictures.
And beyond the big ensemble projects, he showed this remarkable versatility. He tackled both snarling and complex co-starring roles across different genres.
In 2003, he starred as Mitch Gilliam in Head of State, and he delivered a performance that's instantly memorable as the cynical, hilarious store manager Gin Sloggle in the dark comedy Bad Santa.
His work in Bad Santa showed he was willing to play characters with sharp edges, staying true to his uncompromising roots.
And the next year, 2004, he takes the starring role as the fictional, self-obsessed baseball player Stan Ross in Mr. 3000.
Which played perfectly into his love of baseball and Chicago sports culture, but it also required genuine dramatic range.
Then in 2005, he co-stars opposite Ashton Kutcher as the highly protective father Percy Jones in the remake of Guess Who?
A role that basically required him to channel the same protective, territorial father figure he embodied in the Bernie Mac show.
So given this incredibly high level of activity, 5 years of an acclaimed network show, 3 major Ocean's films, plus lead roles in 4 other movies, it's understandable, but still surprising, that in 2007 he made a public announcement about his professional future.
Right. On March 19, 2007, he appears on the CBS Late Show to talk to David Letterman.
And in that appearance, he formally announces his plan to retire from the grueling schedule of stand-up comedy and touring.
And the rationale he provided was so reflective, and it connects directly back to that decades-long grind we talked about earlier. He was candid about needing his time back.
What did he say?
He said, and this is a key quote, "I'm going to still do my producing, my films, but I want to enjoy my life a little bit."
And he explained what that meant.
He did. He elaborated on it, directly referencing the sacrifices his career path required. He said, "I missed a lot of things, you know. I was a street performer for 2 years. I went into clubs in 1977 and was on the road 47 weeks out of the year."
By 2007, that meant he had been committed to that exhausting stand-up road life for 30 years.
30 years. It's a powerful moment of reflection. He was recognizing that the very discipline that led to his success had also cost him immense personal time.
And he planned for this retirement from the road to start, after he finished shooting the film, The Whole Truth, Nothing But the Truth, So Help Me Mac. He was clearly looking forward to a less physically demanding future.
And even as he began planning that transition, his film output remained strong. In 2007, he made that very memorable, brief appearance in Michael Bay's Transformers.
As the eccentric car salesman, Bobby Bolivia, his presence, even in a small role, was just a testament to his draw and his unique delivery.
And he also continued expanding into voice work, showing his adaptability. He was the voice of Zuba, Alex the Lion's long-lost father, in Madagascar, Escape to Africa.
And his final major co-starring role was opposite Samuel L. Jackson in the musical comedy Soul Men. So these projects confirm he was extremely active and successful in film, successfully transitioning his focus, just as planned, right up until the end of his life.
Before we discuss the circumstances of his passing, let's just briefly return to his personal foundation. This was a source of stability throughout his entire professional ascent.
Right.
Bernie Mac married his high school sweetheart, Rhonda Gore, on September 17, 1977, and they welcomed their daughter into the world in 1978.
It's so important to frame the intensity of his career against a private, ongoing health battle. Mac had publicly disclosed that for the last 20 years of his life. So, roughly from the time he was getting his big break, he had been living with severe sarcoidosis.
And what exactly is that?
The material describes sarcoidosis as a disease of unknown origin that causes inflammation in tissue. It often affects the lungs, lymph nodes, eyes, and skin.
So to manage a serious chronic inflammatory condition like that for 2 decades, while maintaining the rigorous schedule of international touring, filming movies, starring in a hit TV show, it speaks to an almost unimaginable level of physical and professional endurance.
He was a man constantly managing his health while striving for peak performance.
Unfortunately, despite that sustained battle with sarcoidosis, the circumstances leading to his death were swift and severe, and actually unconnected to the chronic condition he had managed for so long.
We have a very clear timeline of the final weeks leading up to his passing in the summer of 2008.
Yes. On July 19, 2008, he was admitted to Northwestern Memorial Hospital in Chicago.
He was treated in the ICU for 3 weeks for pneumonia, and tragically the pneumonia led to serious complications. Mac went into cardiac arrest, and he died during the early morning hours on August 9, 2008.
At only 50 years old.
And this detail is really crucial for the record, especially because of his known history with sarcoidosis.
Right.
His publicist provided a clear clarification. The complications that ultimately led to his death were not attributed to a sarcoidosis.
So the primary acute complication was the severe pneumonia, which resulted in cardiac arrest.
Exactly. Which highlights the sudden, tragic, and unexpected nature of the illness that took his life.
And even though his life was cut short, his work continued to reach audiences in the months that followed. 2 films were released after his death and were officially dedicated to his memory.
Madagascar, Escape to Africa, and Soul Men. And that dedication speaks to the immense respect that his co-stars and producers had for him.
Additionally, his final film role, playing Jimmy Lunchbox in Old Dogs, was released a year after his death in 2009. And that film was also dedicated to his memory, ensuring his final performances were viewed as a tribute.
The outpouring of grief and respect after his death was just immediate and immense. It demonstrated the depth of his legacy, not just in Hollywood, but deeply in his hometown of Chicago.
The public memorial, held just a week after his death at the House of Hope Church in Chicago, was enormous. Nearly 7,000 people were there to mourn him.
And the sheer number of attendees, especially the notable figures who came, it just underscores his immense stature across both entertainment and political spheres.
His original Kings of Comedy fellows, D.L. Hewley, Cedric the Entertainer, and Steve Harvey, they were all there.
He was mourned by Chicago Mayor Richard M. Daley, which shows his local significance. And his Hollywood collaborators were there too. Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, Ashton Kutcher, Don Cheadle.
And the full cast from The Bernie Mac Show. It was a true gathering of his professional family and the institutional figures of his community.
And his hometown didn't hesitate to pay tribute. The 2008 Bud Billiken Parade in Chicago, which was held on the very day of his death, was dedicated entirely to his memory.
And that's a massive annual African-American parade. That dedication meant his passing was interwoven with one of the most significant cultural events in the city.
Right. And on top of that, the local TV station WCIU-TV aired a tribute to Bernie Mac on the day of his funeral.
It featured interviews with close family, friends, and colleagues like Camille Winbush, Cameron Diaz, Don Cheadle, ensuring that Chicagoans had a space to collectively process their loss.
And years later, the recognition became official and permanent. On November 14, 2016, Mayor Rahm Emanuel proclaimed November 14th as Bernie Mac Day in Chicago.
That official citywide honor was announced nationally by Steve Harvey on his TV show.
Which brings it all full circle, back to his Kings of Comedy family.
The tributes also became permanent in the very place where his life of hardship and commitment began, his alma mater.
Chicago Vocational High School, where he graduated in '75 after returning from Florida. They renamed their CVS auditorium to the Bernie Mac Auditorium.
And the unveiling was a deeply personal ceremony. His wife, Rhonda, their daughter, Janice, and granddaughter, Jasmine, were all there. The choice of location. A vocational high school on the South Side. It's so significant.
It honors the man who was once a janitor and a delivery driver, showing students the height that dedication to your craft can achieve.
Finally, his place in the broader professional canon remains secure. In February 2017, Rolling Stone magazine cemented his historical ranking by naming Bernie Mac number 41 on their list of the 50 best stand-up comics of all time.
It confirms his lasting significance in the genre where he initially struggled for decades before finding his true voice and fame.
Looking back across this incredible journey, you can really appreciate the magnitude of his trajectory. I mean, Bernard Jeffrey McCullough transformed himself from a man juggling 8 different blue-collar jobs
Delivering Wonder Bread, moving furniture.
to a cultural phenomenon. He achieved immense critical and commercial success, securing prestigious accolades like the Peabody Award and just dominating the NAACP Image Awards for his acting.
His enduring image is defined by that powerful, uncompromising stage persona, a figure of commanding authority and resilience. Yet, as we've seen, that powerful force was built on a long, arduous foundation of quiet struggle and personal tragedy in his youth.
The juxtaposition of the fierce performer with the humble man who worked the grind for decades. That's what makes his story so compelling.
And it remains a profound loss that he died so young, at only 50, at the height of his filmmaking career. What's particularly striking is the medical contrast. He successfully managed a severe, decades-long battle with sarcoidosis with this incredible fortitude. Yet he was ultimately taken suddenly by an entirely separate, acute illness, complications from pneumonia leading to cardiac arrest. It just emphasizes the fragility of life, even for those who demonstrate monumental physical and professional endurance.
We've detailed how Mac drew inspiration from older comedic legends like Richard Pryor and Red Fox, and how he solidified his place as one of the original kings of comedy. That rise, culminating in the 2000 documentary, signaled a profound shift in the landscape of comedy.
It really did. Bernie Mac, through his unique voice, helped usher in an entirely new era of comedic superstars.
So our final thought for you to consider builds on that planned transition he was making.
He was planning to retire from the touring grind, to focus entirely on producing and filmmaking, to finally enjoy his life a little bit. Given the trajectory of his final film roles, voice work, big blockbusters, co-starring with legends like Samuel L. Jackson, what profound creative direction and additional iconic roles might his legacy have contained had he lived to fully realize that next, less grueling stage of his career?
That is a compelling question about the unrealized potential of a true artist. Thanks for listening.